Hey folks, Sebastien from Geneva sent me 3 photos that he asked me to look at because he was curious about how I would retouch them. These are photos from Mundolingo, and as you can see, there are in some cases underexposed, in one other case, I believe we can do something about the color correction. I don't think that for these photos I will be able to get excellent results, but there's definitely something we can do to salvage these photos. And that's what we're going to look at today. Now, first of all, these photos were taken with the Canon EOS 60 Mark II, so fantastic camera that just came out, I believe, last year, 2018. And Sebastien is using a high ISO, like 12,800 here, and the other two as well. So, which is something that you can easily do with a camera of that caliber, but still it means it leaves you with a lot of grain. So that's one thing, or noise. That's one thing we will have to deal with, and we were going to look at how we can bring out details in the shadows and brighten the shadows without causing too much destruction to the way the picture looks. And we're going to try to achieve some color matching across all 3 pictures. Let's go right into the first one. For each picture that I retouch, I first do preset a set of 3 actions that I usually, or that I came up with a while ago. That employs this one. This employs 3 modules. The first module is the Denoise non-local means. Then I change the input color profile and the hot pixels, and I'm going to give you a few words about all of these. So we go back to the base curve, which is these first 3 things here: sharpen, orientation. Base curve is something that Darktable applies automatically. And of course, you can take it away. You can take away the base curve and do your own, but most of the time it's not that bad. What Darktable does for you, so you don't really need to do that. Now let's go in close, and we can see that this picture, as expected with ISO 12,800, is quite noisy, and the noise is very colored, right? There's a lot of color variance here, and the module that I usually use first is the Denoise non-local means module, which I have set to only do, go here, you can see how it changes to raise the strength to 100%, and then we don't do any change to the luma, so no changes to brightness kind of noise, but we do changes to the noise in terms of color, chroma channel. It smoothens colors. So if I were to bring that down, it brings back the oil painting kind of effect. If I bring that back up, it does this. If I bring up the luma, you can see it just sort of smoothens the picture way too much, and it looks bad. It's just not a nice effect. So that's the first thing. The next thing that I do, let me just go back to the base curve and apply all 3 again. The next thing is the input color profile, where I just select a method for gamut clipping. This is something that isn't really necessary in this picture, or actually in many pictures, but there are some photos where just the way it is photographed, the way the colors came in, they are clipped, and then there's a pretty ugly, pretty harsh halo effect that can be avoided if you set a gamut clipping method here. And the third thing is the hot pixels. If you guys don't know what hot pixels are, this is what one look like. It's basically pixels on the sensor of your camera that either get faulty as the sensor experiences wear and tear, or that just plain die and then they just get red. And the hot pixels filter gets rid of these hot or dead pixels. Now, these are the first 3 things. There's only rare cases where I don't do these things, but in most cases I believe every picture can just benefit from them, or if there's no change, then it's just as well. Now, what we want to achieve here is, of course, that these people in the front, especially this guy who should be the main attraction of the picture, his face is turned towards the viewer. He is the subject, and it's the way the picture is taken. All the other people in the back are turned away from the camera. He's turned away from the camera. So it also gives us, as viewers, something to look at. It gives us an anchor, a hook. So the photo is already well framed, well composed for that. Now we want to bring him out so he stands out, so he is more visible. First thing I would try is the shadows and highlights module, where you can see with just one click it brightens the shadows, and it's also capable of darkening the highlights. In some cases it might be able to bring out a little bit more detail, for instance here around the walls, if I darken the highlights further. In this case there's not much detail that comes back, but if I turn it back, if I turn it too low, then this ugly black halo effect comes in, so that's not something we want. But I can even afford to brighten the shadows a little bit more, and we can see right away that this guy is suddenly much more visible. So that is very nice. That's a good result. The next thing we can do from here would be, well, first I could try to work with the equalizer a little. Equalizer gives us local contrast, and if we do this on a coarse part of the scale, so coarse is to the left and then fine is to the right, then it would raise the contrast between neighboring dark and bright areas in an image. Like for instance here there's his beard, which is kind of dark, and then there's his skin, which is kind of bright. And if we did this in a fine kind of area like here, then you would see that around that the edges would be sharpened because of the contrast in a very fine manner coming in here. If we do this more finely, then what happens now is that we bring out the grain more, because now it looks for or it detects the contrast between these, grains, of which there unfortunately still are many. And then all the way, then this doesn't really bring us much effect. But what I think we could do here is around this area. If we do this too much, then it just looks like a bad failed attempt at HDR, and it just doesn't look good at all. But if we do this just a little bit, then I believe we already get a little bit more dynamic on his face. So that's nice. Now his face has these red parts here, and then these other parts that sort of look beige and lifeless. And so right now he just doesn't look healthy in my opinion. So how do we deal with that? I would say it's perhaps a little bit too early to try to deal with that. Let's see what else we can do for bringing him out from the crowd first, and that I would do next with a tone curve. We're gonna do a mask for this. In order to draw a mask, I'm gonna draw it right on his face. Now this mask allows us to apply an effect like the module that we're using now, the tone curve, to only the part that the mask covers. So I'm gonna draw a mask around here like this, and you can see you already saw it when I had the brush here. If I hold shift and I press the mouse wheel, then I can bring this up or down, and it basically means the area that is filled is the area that the mask is going to be applied to, and then the ants that march around it, like the dashed circle around it, that's the area between this and the dashed circle is the area where the blur occurs. So from there the mask is blurred from full effect to no effect. And that's how I drew it just now. So let me bring that back. There it is. If I hold the mouse over it, this is what we get. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. And now if I hold shift and mouse wheel, then I can bring this down or up as well. So I can change the size of the mask, and then I can feather it or blur it more or less, which I'm not going to do yet, because right now we just want to brighten his face. So let's raise the midtones just to see what happens there. We can see now he becomes brighter. That's already pretty nice. Let's just turn off the mask to see how that looks like. There. Now this guy is clearly visible. He stands out from the crowd, and we've already lost some of the ugly red shades that were strewn all over his face. But there's still a red tint towards the upper edge of his forehead, so we want to get rid of that. We're going to do that in a moment. But before we do, we can see that, especially here on his lapel, we can see that there's an area where the mask stops being applied, and it's very harsh. So that's where the feathering comes in. We just feather the mask, and then it becomes more smooth, the transition between effect and no effect. And we can even blur it a little. Yeah, it makes a slight difference. So that's nice. That's very good. Let's see if we even get a better effect. Perhaps if we go a little bit harsher here with the curve. Not so much. Yeah, no, obviously not. Whoops. So let's just bring this back in the middle. I believe raising the midtones here is just enough for us. Perhaps we can raise the highlights a little bit more, see what happens. Not much, just more intense colors. So something like this is probably nice enough. Now the next thing we wanted to do was get rid of some of the red color in this. So we're going to use the color zones here. And the color zones, we go to hue, which we already have selected. And then if I were to select the hue that I wanted to change, is around here. And we can see this is the color up here, the kind of red somewhere in this area that we want to shift a little bit more towards, I would say towards yellow. So to get an overall more clear skin tone. Wait, I don't need to do anything else, but wait, no, I do. Blend options, I blend it as a drawn mask, and then I select the same mask I had before, the tone curve group. So that's the same brush I drew before. I don't know why it's not showing. There it is, right? And with this, we're gonna get rid, just desaturate actually the red a little, right? Not so much, and then perhaps push it, everything that's all the way to the red, push it a little bit more towards yellow, something like that. Now here we go. Next thing would be that we need to, now that we have brought him out, let's see if the overall color cast on this picture can't be improved a little. If we just lower the temperature, then we're probably going to see the image become more lifeless, and then stuff here turns green. This is just now, well, ugly gray. There's blue tones coming out, and then the green here. So that's definitely not so nice. Let's get rid of some green, just very subtly. Yeah, just a little bit more. Perhaps see what happens if I add some blue. Then probably, yeah, I was expecting that. Obviously, we're going to get more pink type of tones now. That's not ideal. So, yeah. By the way, if you right click here, then you can just use the mouse on this curve. You don't even have to hold down the mouse, but you can very subtly affect this. It's not ideal at the moment. Let's take out some of the blue. So this is trial and error, at least the way I'm doing it is trial and error. I'm sure there's people who have even more experience than I do, who do this much more in a more goal-oriented manner, but we're gonna get there either way. So this is it, and now I think I can perhaps push it a little bit more towards red. Yeah, that's too much. I think somewhere around this area we're comfortable with that. Well, at least I am. Your mileage may vary, but I do believe we have a nice improvement from this picture, in this picture compared to the way it was before. This is what we started with, and this is what we have now. You know what? It's a little bit too red for my taste. Let's just bring this back a little bit to yellow and make it a little bit warmer. I think we lost some of the warmth, and we can afford to have some of it back. Always also keep an eye on just the outside area. How far does that change when we change the temperature? And like this is probably it's a little bit too much, but this is probably about right. So yeah, one more thing I could do. Let's just see what happens if I do. I use the low pass bloom, and the low pass, first of all, it raises the contrast a little, it darkens the dark parts a little, but also it just smoothens the whole picture to some extent. It's a very nice effect to apply on portrait pictures because it smoothens faces, it smoothens the skin, and also transitions become less harsh if we do this. And I think here it also gives us a nice benefit. I'm going to turn it off, turn it back on. That's not too bad. I'm going to use the base curve to bring back some of the dark that I just darkened too much. Something like that. Now, two more things. First of all, we want to crop and rotate this because I personally am not a big fan of the whole ceiling thing going on here. all the ceiling fixtures and apparatus. So we can just crop this to 16:9 and lose the stuff up here. And the second thing is, if we go back in, we see that with all these changes that we did, now there's again a lot of grain, even though we did the color correction, the noise reduction with the non-local means. We're going to see if the Denoise profile module, which is another very powerful denoising module in Darktable, is going to give us some more benefit in this photo. We'll start with that and we'll crop at the end. So in the Denoise profile module, if I just turn it on, it's just automatically going to find a match for ISO 12800, but I believe it's just going to turn it, it's going to smoosh it too much. It's smudging it, right? And that's not a nice effect. I don't think that really works. Even like this, it's fine, but I'm not a fan of that. So let's turn this back off, and instead what we're going to use is a preset that it has, again, where it only works on the chroma and not on the luma, so it isn't going to wash out the picture and remove details, but it might reduce the noise by a nice extent. Let's see if it does. Well, it changed the noise for sure, but I have to admit I'm not too happy with the result. This is before. Well, you know what? It is a little better. It is a little better. It's probably a good idea to keep it like that. Yeah. So we're going to keep that preset for the denoise profile. Keep these in mind. Denoise non-local means and denoise profiled. In case you want to screenshot it, here are the settings again for the profiled. Just use the chroma preset here, and then on the non-local means, no luma, full chroma, and patch size 2 and full strength. So that's the first thing, and now we're going to rotate it. Crop and rotate here. You can use different kinds of guides. I like the metering guides, but there's others here, right, that help you determine if the picture is now slanted or not. And if I hold the mouse wheel over this, and if I turn the mouse wheel, then I can rotate the picture and I can just bring this down. We can afford to lose a little bit over here. I can afford to lose a little bit over there. And we have a tighter picture. We don't have the ceiling as visible anymore. And this guy is now the center of attention. Last thing, perhaps a vignette could do. Let's see, just a standard vignette over this on the edges. Yeah, that's nice. So this is it. We went from this to this, and it's a quite nice result. It took some time, but you know, if you do this often and you don't talk over it like I just did, this wouldn't take too long. And now it has become a picture that you can certainly use in your photo album. Next thing, this one we don't have to do too much. We can just go ahead and again, I'm going to use my basic settings here, and you can see the grain is now like that. It's really nice. Now out here, I think we have too much of it's too green. So let's bring down some of the green. Now we've tilted stuff, or we've brought in too much purple. So perhaps get rid of some blue. And now just raise the temperature overall. Yeah. This is already looking quite nice. You see he has a healthy skin tone now. These people have healthy skin tones now. Perhaps bump it a little bit towards red. And this is already a nice looking picture. We can use the bloom effect again, see what happens. Yes. And then we just use the base curve to bring back some of the dark, the shadows. Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, this is already a good picture, just like that. Yeah, it's well shot, it's sharp. Of course, that's the bonus, you know, if you have a dimly lit bar, if you shoot at 12,800, you still get exposure of 1/30th at f2.8. That's pretty good. right? You don't, if you have a fairly steady hand, you're going to be able to get sharp pictures like this. Also, this is a well shot crowd shot because this one person, again, his face is fairly visible. He's in the middle of the picture. So we are drawn to him. We get to look at him, but we also see the whole crowd. And this is clearly a well-attended event. So that's nice. And now let's look at this young lady and her friends. Same thing, Denoise. And I'm just going to repeat the same steps. I tried this before. I don't think I'm going to be able to salvage this picture as much, but we'll see what I can come up with. Now, I use the shadows and highlights. Again, I can perhaps raise the shadows a little more, something like this. And that is actually kind of cool already. Now, she still is rather dark, perhaps a little dull and lifeless. As far as her colors are concerned. And if I bring up this, if I just bring up the midtones, we can correct that a little bit. Bring down the dark tones, perhaps a little bit too much, like this. Something like that. And we can do another instance of the tone curve and see if we work with a drawn mask again. We can get a nice result here as well. And yes, I believe we do. Yeah, there's not too much going on in the bright parts. So there is this. Let's use the equalizer a little. You know what? That just no, that doesn't really help her at all. But if we soften this a little, yeah, just a tad, and then we can bring back some extra sharpness using this. Oops. There. That's actually not too bad. Now she's clearly visible. Go back to the base curve. This is before. This is after. I think we could even see if we lower the overall exposure, because we can see the histogram goes all the way from the darkest, it goes all across the spectrum, and I think if we bring down a little, well, yeah, we're definitely turning her face dark again. Well, something just a tad down, so the brightest parts aren't too bright. We can also use the, where is it, the color balance module here, and then in the highlights we can just get rid of some of the, or just bring down the highlights a little. You can see how the histogram changes when I do that. And my hope was that it would bring back a little bit detail here. It doesn't do that very much, simply because some of the highlights were simply blown out in this picture. But that's okay. Now let's go back. I kind of hate to lose the brightness that I just gave to her face, just brought to her face. Perhaps with the color lookup table I can restore some of that selectively. The color lookup table allows us to work on color patches, different kinds of colors in the picture, and just selectively brighten them or manipulate them. So I could brighten the darker skin tones, and I could also brighten brighter skin tones. In this case it does only the adverse effect. It darkens other stuff. So this is probably the best we can do for this picture. Again, of course, we want to see about all the grain that we now brought to the picture. That's a whole lot. It's not very nice. Thankfully, of course, when you publish this on the internet, then the grain is not going to be too much of a problem, because you export this picture at 2000 pixels, and it's not going to be that visible. Of course, it's much worse if I zoom in, or if somebody looks at this on a 4K monitor. That's going to be pretty terrible. But it comes with the territory. That's what happens if you shoot at 12,800. I personally still do shoot at high ISO values, because I believe we can still do some good with what I'm about to do now, denoising. So denoise the chroma. Yeah, it gets rid of some of that. And the picture turns out a little better. Now let's see in the white balance if we raise the temperature a little. Yeah, gives her a little bit of a healthier look, and we can also bump it a little bit more towards red, like that. just ever so slightly, and now we can crop and rotate. We don't need to crop to 16:9 because I do like the background here. I like the stairs that we can see in the background. So perhaps keep the original image, but get rid of some of this here on the side because all this bright, really bright part is sort of distracting. There's half a person sticking into the picture here. That's also distracting. So if we crop it here, then we lose all that, and already we can see that these people, these three people having fun and interacting with each other, are now more in the center of the picture and the center of attention. So before, after, there we go. Now let's look at the pictures side by side, and we can see that the colors are definitely more consistent than they were before. Overall, I believe this picture is warmer. These two pictures are still warmer than this one. But I would react to that not necessarily by warming up this one too much, perhaps just a little bit, but perhaps also bringing down the temperature of the other two. So let's bring this up a little. Let's see if we can perhaps with Velvia just selectively bring more color to her face without making it look unnatural. Yeah. Might already be a little bit too intense here. No. But perhaps something like this. I don't know. I mean, there comes a point where you just try to do too much and then it doesn't really do much. It does more harm at that point than good. So perhaps it's even actually smarter to just go back to where we were. Because this picture looks nice the way it looks, and then we could still just lose a little bit of white balance here. There's a little bit of warmth here. We can afford to lose that, and we can make the three pictures look the same. There we go. It's a little bit closer now, and this one perhaps is a little bit too warm as well. Yeah, this can take some tinkering, and you can try more with different parts or different modules here to see what else you can get out of these pictures. Like perhaps bring back a little bit more contrast here. Oops, not so much. Might actually benefit this picture a little. Yeah. Find a nice middle ground, and then you have your three retouches. Of course, now that took a while. I've been talking for 30 minutes now. So quite a bunch of things you could do to salvage pictures that you took that you think have potential, that you think look nice, but unfortunately something technically went wrong. They were underexposed or the colors were off or something like that. There are ways in Darktable to salvage these photos, as we can see right here. I hope this helps you guys a little. I hope you learned a few things that you can use now, a few tricks that you can add to your toolbox. If that is the case, then I'm a happy guy. Whoops. Thank you very much for watching.